How do you design A-plus content, also known as enhanced brand content? In this video, I'm actually going to give you a sneak peek to how our design team at My Amazon Guy goes into Photoshop and builds from scratch A-plus content. And this is a fun one because we're doing it with a pizza pan or stone, if you will. And I'm super excited. It's going to make you hungry. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. All right, so before we dive in, if you do need an A-plus content built for you, if you want to hire us, go over to myamazonguy.com. We show you a bunch of examples and everything that we've built historically. We have a lot of great feedback. We do this all the time. And with that said, I'm super excited to dive into our video today. I'm going to hit play on this. This video is going to be a sped up version of how we edit A-plus content using Photoshop and everything that's involved in making that happen. So the first thing our designer is doing here is they're becoming aware of the requirements. They're reviewing the listing, making sure they understand what is going to go into this. And they're pulling a logo at the moment. And sometimes you have to size it to make it look good. And it looks pretty spot on first go. So not a lot of edits going on there. One of my favorite things about doing A-plus content is it affects two things, both traffic and conversion. And what you see the designer doing there, and that was really quick, we'll see if I can pause this the next time she's going to the keywords, is building out the keywords or alt text for the photos. And each individual photo needs to have 100 characters of keywords behind it. This is probably the most missed thing that is done in A-plus content, is missing those keywords. And obviously this video is sped up, so it's a little hard to keep up with the action, but otherwise this would take a really long time to get through. And because it usually takes on average about 4 hours to build an A-plus content. So she's going through some lifestyle images, looking for family gathering type of stuff, seeing what would look good, looking for color palettes as well, and mixing those things in. So A-plus content does two major things for you on Amazon. Number one is improves your traffic, and number two is improve your conversion rates. And notice how I led with traffic over the conversion, and that is because it will triple your number of keywords that are indexing, and that's really important. Most missed opportunity is making sure keywords are filled in on every single alt text photo, fluctuated throughout all of the copy in A-plus content. It makes a really big difference for how many people are going to find your product to begin with. So make sure if you hire a designer to do your A-plus content, it's very important that they know to put keywords in there. Most designers are not trained on SEO. They're going to look at the aesthetics. So like, this looks great. That's a very lovely picture there. And a creative member is going to be able to understand that. But what they may not realize is they need to put keywords behind each one of those photos. All right, so we're going into Photoshop here. Notice the line work that's about to be done here. She's going to cut out the stone from this image just to make sure, and I love the pizza there. Look at those lining there. It's a little complicated to do this work. This is probably the most complex design portion where you're going around a photo and you're going to try and cut it out. Because if you don't do this perfectly, then it doesn't look good in the final mention or final view, if you will. So now she's cut it out and she's looking at creating a new graphic here and trying to figure out what would look good with it. So she's taken another lifestyle image over the top, edited it so it looks like it's on some wood planks here or a wood table. Now we're trying to see, okay, what kind of family member setting would look good here, testing out some different variations, seeing how the color would match, seeing what would pop the best, and playing with it. And it does take a lot of, notice how she tweaked the color of the wood there, trying to match those colors up, make it pop as best as possible. What is going to look the most realistic here? And trying to decide which family shot, which table shot will look the best. So the second thing A-plus content's important for is conversion. And when you build out the A-plus content, you want to have some nice big imagery. You want to take up as much space as you possibly can with A-plus content because it prevents competitors and other advertisements showing on the listing. So here we're grabbing some copy and some features to see what would be the best copy or feature to lead with. So get the best crispy crust with a pizza stone, right? And everybody, of course, loves to get crispy crust on their pizza. It's about lunchtime when I'm shooting this, so I'm thinking about going to get some pizza myself right now as my mouth starts to water and look at this. And it's really creative how you can take multiple images and layer them together to make the marketing make sense. And there's a lot of technical work involved to do that. Not only has the image been cut out, now we're putting graphics and banners over the top, and boom, there it is, and it looks great. So we're on to the next feature here, and so we're putting some copy on it next to that image so that we not only take up image space, but we're taking up copy space. Amazon will tell you that they do not index for A+ content. We know they're kind of fibbing on that because we've tested putting Spanish behind keywords in the alt text of one single photo, didn't put Spanish anywhere else, and it totally ranks for that content and for those Spanish keywords. All right, so now one of the other things that's kind of a big deal is just how big or how much space the product takes up. You need a banana for scale kind of angle. So you saw that measurement shot a moment ago. So now we're looking at the blog. We're looking at all the different things that come along with this. We're looking at a video cut here, pizza being put into the oven, being pulled back out of the oven, looking for opportunities or specs and features. Took a look at the reviews there, going through all of the copy and contents. Anytime you order A+ content from My Amazon Guy, it's always helpful to send us over a little bit of direction, maybe a couple ASINs that you like from a competitor or some copy you would like included or some imagery you would like included. We can work with whatever you send and then kind of figure it out from there. And you notice how we went and found a lifestyle image that would work with the product and kind of put it together. So now the next thing we're doing here is we're putting an image together with text inside of the image. More often than not, you typically want to have more text outside of images than inside, but on occasion it makes sense to include some text in an image. And the reason you do that, of course, is the more crawlable text the computer algorithm can find, the more SEO juice that makes available, and it can be valuable for that. All right, so whenever you build out A+ content, there's a bunch of different modules you can choose from. So our designer here is trying to figure out, okay, which modules is going to look the best? Which modules should we plug and play in a particular order? One of my favorite modules to include is often what I like to call the product grid. And the product grid can compare and contrast your products to other competitors. And, compare your own products against each other so you can increase average order value. You could compare against competitors, but you wouldn't want to do that in the A+ content. And so you can, let's say you got 3 different stone sizes for this pizza stone. You could compare and contrast why you'd want a big, smaller, medium. Or maybe you got a good, better, best model. Maybe you've got something where it's, hey, this is a good product, this is a better product, and here's the best product, different price tiers. So there could be all kinds of things you might want to put in a product grid to compare and contrast. Let's say you only have one pizza stone, then you got a pizza slicer and 2 other pizza-related products. You could also make a product grid out of that, if you have that, to upsell, to show, hey, we don't just sell stones, we sell all the stuff. Put everything in your cart at one time, increase that average order value, and of course, more money in your pocket. All right, so we're editing another image here and kind of pulling some items out. So the trick here is to crop this as best as possible so it looks as good as it can. And you can see she's cutting out some of the exterior here on that to make it look pristine. It looks a little bit sharper now without that extra darkening on the exterior. Doing some editing of the copy to pull out some features on what would make the most sense, so bolding some key statements there, and just kind of moving things around a little bit to see, where the eye is going to look the best. So now changing the text color from where it was to see if, would it make more sense to put a banner behind it, and switching it back and forth to compare and contrast and see what looks best. All right, so we've got that one built. I've loaded that one, and then the keywords, of course, were put behind that one as well, off to see what else would make sense to build the next graphic here. So pulling and pulling the fact that there's a really big feature that this thing can survive in 2,000-degree Fahrenheit temperature. That's a pretty big feature. So we got some fire aspect going on with this one. And thermite, I probably mispronounced that, is the secret. Years of research finally, and that's kind of the key behind why this is such an important thing. So it doesn't allow for moisture and makes it for a little bit more crispy aspect. Because if you don't have something that takes away some of the moisture from that, of course, then the pizza might not be as crispy. So calling out features like that, making so it's really shown for how this product's got a benefit analysis to it. That's always good to feature. When you're building copy and bullet points for your product, you only have like 200 characters to work with above the fold. So in the A+ content, which is below the fold, you have a lot more copy to work with, and you can expound upon a particular feature and why you think this is the coolest feature ever, and go into some detail and make some graphics around it and showcase it a bunch of different ways. All right, so we've got a 14 by 16 pizza pan. Oh yeah, she's pulling it out. Oh, it looks so good. Got a little pepperoni pizza going on in that. And of course, this is an impossible shot to get without some photo editing. All right, so now we're looking at both fire and ice. Good old fire and ice shot here to see the fact that this thing is engineered to last, and compare and contrast that. So we've got lots of different images we're playing with here to see where we're going to focus, and now we're using one of the modules that has 3 different images stacked right next to each other, because we're basically expounding upon the fact that each one of these has similarities. So when you build out the modules, sometimes it makes sense to have a giant big photo, which you definitely want to have at least one of those. In other instances, the modules may make more sense to show the fact that, hey, this has got the best pizza crust, and you show different shots doing the same thing to kind of reinforce that this isn't just a one-time fluke best pizza ever, and you can get consistency out of it by showing additional ways that the pizza came out of the oven. So you have multiple shots showing similarities on that to emphasize that angle. So A+ content, of course, requires a brand registry on Amazon. If you don't have a brand registry today, you need to get a trademark. So trademarks, to file that with the USPTO, that is also a service that My Amazon Guy offers. So if you're launching a new brand, you need a trademark, definitely go over to myamazonguy.com. We sell trademarks for $7.75. That includes end-to-end service on that. We'll file the trademark. We will make sure it's a safe one to file, and if anything comes up, we'll follow up with the USPTO on your behalf to make sure the trademark goes in. One of the nice things about what we do with trademarks is we file it in your name. So if you hire a lawyer, chances are they're going to file it in their legal name, and that means you got to go back to that lawyer and ask for them to give you that brand registry code, and anytime you have to follow up, you're going to have to go through the lawyer. So one of the nice things about hiring My Amazon Guy for a trademark filing is we'll actually file it in your name, and you can cut us out of the loop anytime you want. We'll support you and still have access and help, but we file that trademark in your name. And one of the choices you have to make when you file a trademark is, hey, am I going to put this trademark in the company name or my personal name? My recommendation, file it under the company, because if you sell the brand or sell the company, then the trademark is easily transferred over and you don't have to refile any paperwork. So that's just kind of a nice tip I give people when they file a trademark. It usually takes about 6 months to get a trademark onto the principal registry, which gets your registration number, and that's how you file for brand registry. All right, so we're putting some additional assets together here. We got a recipe book. We got the fact that this has got so many different features. We're repositioning all the A+ content here to see how the modules play out and fill in all these different modules, taking up as much space as we possibly can here. And it looks really good. You can see how the red and the blue contrast with each other, and then you got some Italian colors in the bottom here in this section. So it looks really nice to see how that contrasts with each other. So I'm going to speed a couple of things up here to see what else we're pulling back from some additional assets to see, hey, can we make this look even better? So we've got some sizing constraints here. We're looking at what the competition is doing inside of advertising. All right, can we throw another pizza on this to give a little bit more view to this? So we've grabbed a pizza shot, threw it on top of the stone, because throwing a pizza on it, it just gives it a little bit more pop, makes it look a little bit better. and shows you a lot more, customer eye focus. If you use images that make the consumer think about using your product, you're doing a good job. And that's because you put your target demographic and they're like, yeah, I can see myself using this product. If it's just a stone and it's just like without the pizza on top of it, you're like, man, it's okay. But then you see the pizza on top of it and you're like, that's how you use it. And you can think about eating the pizza and think about the cheese and the pepperoni and the crispy crust. And so that's why throwing that pizza on top of that image, it seems like common sense once you say it out loud, but I'm emphasizing it because it's really kind of a big deal. And if you have a designer to go in and do that kind of work, it's going to pop way more. It's also going to trigger a higher conversion rate. Once you have A+ content in place, studies are kind of ranging on the percentage of how much of an impact it makes. It's anywhere from a lift on conversion rate from like 10 to 30%. It's a pretty big lift. And if you see that lift with your A+ content, of course, that's really, really helpful. Once you have that lift in place, then it makes sense to go invest in some more traffic. Go build a bunch of more ads. And there's a great new ad type that got released, and that is the custom brand image. So not only can you do headline ads at the top of the search, but now you can use giant images showing the product in a little bit better aspect. You have to have the brand registry in place. And so now if you get your A+ content published, highly recommend showing some big imagery in custom brand images that will list your brand. And once they get to the product page, if you use that pizza shot with that pepperoni like we just saw there in a big image ad on search, then the consumer can put their mind, when they click on the ad and it looks exactly like the content they're looking at, that's a big deal, right? Headline ads previously were pretty static and you had to throw like a logo on and they used a product display. So it's a really big difference now. So definitely recommend you check that out once you have your A+ content published. The other thing you should do is try and increase your organic rankings and track it. One of the tools we like to use is called Helium 10. And you can use Jungle Scout and a bunch of other tools as well. The reason I like Helium 10 is you can actually track your keyword movements. Not very many tools can do that. So if you use Helium 10, you can see your number of words that you were indexed prior to launching, and you can see the number of keywords you indexed for post publishing your A+ content. What I mean by indexing is, do you show up in the first 300 results for a particular keyword? On average, A+ content will triple the number of keywords you index for. So if you had like 500 keywords prior to your publication, then it will be like 1,500 keywords post-publication. That's how much of a difference A+ content makes. The other thing I recommend you focus on is go look at the keywords that you're in positions 20 through 50 on and try and emphasize those keywords because they're in what I like to call the striking distance. Any keyword that's in between position 20 and 50, if you put some emphasis behind it, and you can do this through ads, you can do this through the A+ content, the photo, alt text, the search term field in the back end. You can do it through all of these different aspects, and if you do that, you'll go from position 20 through 50 and try and get it up to, say position 5 through 10, or maybe even the top 5 over time. And it takes a while for keywords to matriculate, and so you just have to be patient with some of that. But it's a long-term investment, and the number of keywords that index is pretty instantaneous, usually within the first couple weeks of A+ content going. But the ranking of those keywords takes a lot longer. That could be a few months out. So just measure that over time. All right, so our designer is playing with blue, playing with red to see what contrasts best. We got some check marks she put into place here. Really nice end result in that thermotite that she put together, so that looks really good. So now we're just kind of continuing to play with different imagery and seeing, okay, if I put this in different text, does it pop more? Trying to get the colors to match the brand guidelines, that kind of stuff to see, what kind of differences that will make. I like the red and blue choices that have been made with this particular design because it's, you're thinking about taking that pizza out of the freezer, throwing it on one of these stones, and then heating it up. So I think it's very much in line. And then you got that green and red from the Italian flag, of course, too, and a lot of Italian aspect to that as well. So could have gone either route on that, but I like the red and the blue personally. I think that looks really good. I think it pops pretty good. So now we're just filling out a bunch of content and features, trying to make sure that as much copy is present as possible. And some of that copy used to be in the product description. And this A+ content will take place of the product description. So if there was any good content that you'd built for your product description, you do want to transfer it over to the A+ content, because if you don't, it'll just disappear. So make sure that's in place. All right, so now we've got the fact that this pizza stone's got these features, and just even though it's just going like blazingly fast, you get the idea that this thing can survive both cold, it can survive both heat. You can get the idea of the sizing of it, the moisture aspects. All of that is very apparent in a quick 5-second glance as you go through the modules that were built. All right, so we're making some additional adjustments. Decided, hey, maybe that red color was too red. Maybe need to darken it a little bit more, and testing that out to see how that looks. So you got some last minute changes on color tones and seeing if it looks any better. So we went from that bright red, we're checking it out, comparing it to the darker red to see what looks better. Now you got kind of the full view of the A+ content going up here. I think I might go back here just to pause it for a brief second. Let's see if we can grab the full A+ view here. So it's not cooperating. Let's see if I can pause it when it comes back up here in a second. And see if I can get that time correctly so you can get a little bit gander as you see the more full aspect of that built. All right, almost got it. Let's see that full view here. There we go. So here's the full view, and all of these different modules together, it really adds up, and you can see the aspects. So here's the old red, here's the new red here, and so we're kind of testing back and forth to see what looks the overall best. All right, so I'm gonna hit back on that play and going through those motions here. Okay, one of the last things that we do when we build out A+ content, we'll take a copy of that draft and we'll send it over, and we upload it into what we call Asana, and then we send it over to the client for their approval. And once that has been approved, we'll then submit it to publish. And so I'm going to speed some of this up. So let's go through here. So we're just doing some double checking with some of the images here, and we've made some draft revisions. Putting in some more additional keywords, different aspects here. We got what a pizza stone could look like if it's dirty or it's not in good shape. So now we're editing that to kind of grab that and cut it out. It's always fun to watch things get cut out of their shape. That's one of my favorite parts of this. So now sometimes when you do features, sometimes you want to do instructions like what not to do for a product, right? So you don't want to put detergent on this thing. Don't put soap on it. Just use some water. Use some water on it so it doesn't look like that. So sometimes it makes sense to do some negative features. Most often than not, though, we typically stick to the positives. But sometimes it makes sense. It might make more sense to send the negatives in an email, not on the product page, right? So, hey, instructions on how to best use a pizza stone could go in your first email. We like to use Feedback Whiz for our automated email series. And you can push that out to the consumers and say, hey, here for best use or best results, use our product like this. That can, of course, cut down on any negative reviews. So you get positive reviews if you reinforce how to use the product correctly. And we're making some additional edits here. Feedback from the client has come in, so we've made some changes. I'm going to speed a little bit up here, changing some different colors, seeing if what looks best. Talking about the thickness of it to emphasize the thickness. As we watch the designer build some of that, add a little bit of shadow, play with the aspect ratio, where it's going to show up, and how to make it pop. I'm going to speed a little bit ahead here. All right, so now we're looking for some icons to show measurement. So we're going through a list of what icon might look the best and throwing that back on the image here. Sometimes it does take a little while to figure out what to put into that image, trying to figure out which icon is going to look the best. And we flipped it. We did a 180 on the direction it's going. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to speed this part up. I want to get to the final result here so you can kind of see how it's morphed from one one set to another. All right, so we swapped the color yet again. This is a third iteration on color swap because sometimes it looks a little bit different once you see those different colors. And all of those assets you can see in the folder, all of those different components individually, they look like a lot, and they come together and build out one A+ design. A lot of work is put in when you build these things out. And so great. If you liked what you saw today, you like this A+ content build that we did, you see all the work and effort that goes into it, we hope you consider hiring my Amazon guy. We charge $500 for an A+ design like this. All you got to do is go right on over to myamazonguy.com, and I'll show you what our A+ page looks like. You can place the order right on the website, and if you need to talk about it before you order, don't hesitate. You can contact us too. But if you're ready to go, we do the full edit. You saw everything you get in this video, all the keyword research, image editing, copywriting, meta description setup, bunch of different A+ contents you can see we've built for our clients over time. We've probably built maybe 80 unique designs in the past year. A lot of different good designs, always improves conversions and traffic and indexing like we mentioned in today's video. If you have any questions about how to do something in A+ content, leave a comment on our video. We'd be happy to help you and answer any questions you might have. We have a lot of users that follow us, subscribe to our videos. We have other A+ content videos where we've shot and kind of explained how designing works. And we hope it's helpful. My name is Stephen Pope, and I am My Amazon Guy. Like and subscribe to us and for other video content related to A+ content, ads, and other A+ Amazon Seller Central tips.